friends, welcome back to my channel. It's Tuesday and I'm already exhausted. This month's PMDD episode started on Sunday, so this week we're prioritizing nurturing and mindful activities over productive getting stuff done. I do want to celebrate the little victory that I participated in a Lorcana event on Sunday, and I did well, and also I didn't have a meltdown. First day of my episode, surrounded by people, I didn't have a meltdown. I'm so impressed with myself. I also wasn't completely exhausted the next day, which is just more than I could ask for, honestly. So this week we're focusing on taking care of myself, and I know that I say that in every video, or it seems kind of like a duh statement, but some of us are not used to that, and we deserve to be taken care of, either by ourselves or by others. So before we get into the vlog, I'm gonna say that I'll be splicing in clips that I've taken over the past couple of days prior to filming this intro. So I didn't want you to be like, well, her outfit's different or whatever, if you even care about that thing. If it's something that bothers you, there is my disclaimer. I will be popping in clips here and there that I've already filmed. So let's get into the vlog. I really hope you guys enjoy it, and I hope it's a good week. So I am currently 40% of the way through Trial of the Sun Queen, and I just need to know what's going on. I don't care about anything that's actually going on in this book. I just need to know what's going on in this world. It's following a girl who has been imprisoned since she was a child. She's not a girl, she's a woman. She's been imprisoned since she was a child in this really brutal place, her and her siblings. She gets taken out of the prison during a riot by some random dude claiming that she is to be part of the Sun Queen trials. She gets there and she's participating with other women, and basically she's from a rival kingdom, but their two kingdoms have a truce that during their queen trials or whatever, they will offer one of their people as participants with the premise, the idea, the dream that one of their people would end up on their rival's throne. But in actuality, at least for the Sun Kingdom, it has an actual name, but I'm just going to call it the Sun Kingdom, a person from her kingdom has never actually succeeded. So she's competing in these trials, and she has a bodyguard that is training her, and then she also has caught the interest of the Sun King. And then we're also getting a point of view of the prince from her original kingdom. Is his dad did something to her family and to her that makes her hate them. His dad found out that there was a prisoner missing from the prison and has told him to go find that prisoner. Didn't give him the identity or anything. We're following these two points of view, and I know it's a romantasy, so presumably their end game being the 2 points of view, but I'm just so confused about what's going on. She's this human, and there's Fae, and she seems like she's probably not human, and I don't even care about the trials. I'm not particularly interested in her becoming the Sun Queen. I don't care about her relationship with the prince or the king or whatever. I just want to know what the fuck's going on. I want to know who she is. I want to know the backstory. I want to know the truth. I don't really care about the trials. Like I've said before, I'm tired of trial stories, and that still stands. But the thing that's carrying me through this is I have to know. I will say this story is quite dark. We pretty much right off the bat open the story in the prison, and there's a lot of violence against her seen on page, and sexual violence described from her point of view, and not described as it's happening, but in her mind she's recalling that it's happened. Not again described on page, but she says that it has happened. And it's a little bit dark and confusing, but in a good way, not in a way that's we're intentionally being deceived, but in a way that the story is slowly unraveling. And I'm just so curious what's going to happen. I originally picked this up because one of my dear friends gave the latter books in the series 5 stars, and I want to know. I want to know. And basically she said, like, it's a lot of fun and the series gets better as it goes. So we're going to see what happens. Right now, it's pretty interesting. It took me a little bit to get into it, but I'm for sure, like, down. I want to see where the story goes. I want to know what the fuck's happening. The only complaint that I have so far, and like, the not caring about the trial thing, I don't think is really a complaint. I mean, it could be seen as a complaint of it being boring. I don't think if you like trials, like, it's not going to be boring for you, but I'm just kind of tired of them. But the one complaint that I do have is the heroine has been in prison pretty much her entire life. I think she went there when she was like 7 and she's like an adult now. And there seems to be no like actual trauma and shaping of her personality around it. She's still very like obstinate. She still does whatever she wants. Like, there doesn't seem to be any perceivable reaction or like learned behavior from being in prison for so long, you know? Like, she has issues with people touching her and stuff, but other than that, like, we don't get her struggling really at all. And so I think that obviously affects the way you view her character and like how in depth her character is and how connected I feel to her. But other than that, like, we're here, we're ready to have some fun, and I just want to know what's happening. So I am home from work and I have prepared a pre-prepped meal, and this is why I'm so happy. Today is one of those days that I'm just so happy that I have started pre-prepping meals, because it's the 3rd day of an episode, and when I just don't have the energy, I love it. So we're having pesto pasta with chicken, baked chicken, and corn on the cob. Corn on the cob is like one of my all-time favorite foods, with some slathered in some butter. Roll it up. It's like the ultimate comfort food. So comfort meal on a day when I need it is just so important and very exciting. So I'm gonna continue eating my meal. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my plans for the week, or how I'm adjusting my mindset for this episode. When I say episode, I mean my PMDD episode. If you don't know what PMDD is, here you go. I have taken many approaches to my PMDD. I've tried many of things, and sometimes you just have to admit that your brain chemistry is just not working with you, and you have to work with it. So I have spoken at length many times about putting a lot of pressure on myself for my weeks to go a certain way, look a certain way. I constantly feel like I have to be doing everything correctly. I have to be doing all my habits. I have to be hitting all my goals every single week, and it just isn't realistic, especially during an episode. So this week I am not even considering working out or doing anything like that. Have made one goal for myself, and that is to not spend every single day in bed. Obviously that's gonna get harder as the weeks go on, so I encouraging myself to sit in my chair that's in my room. If you are also someone who has a comfort bedroom, I have a chair in my bedroom that I prefer to sit in rather than being on the bed. There was years and years where I spent all my time in the bed. I was having a lot of back issues, a lot of problems resulting from that, and so I got a chair in here. And I've had a chair in here for a while, then I moved it, and then I got another chair, and now it's in here. But my goal for the week is to be in this chair as long as I can until I am too depressed and need to be in bed. Usually the latter half of my episodes is when the depression fatigue like really gets the best of me, and I'll pretty much go to work and then come home and be in bed until bedtime, or until my partner gets home, and then I'll move to the couch and do our stuff and then get back in bed for bedtime. So I know as the episode goes on, I'm not like holding myself to that, but I'm really working hard on not pressuring myself to work out at all unless I'm feeling it, and to be out of the bed for the majority of the time that I'm home. And then the rest of it, I'm kind of just gonna take as it comes. I definitely want to prioritize eating my meals and resting. I find that around my period and around my cycles, like my PMDD cycles, both cycles, I very tired. I sleep really hard, and I want to just be in my cozy space, be in my comfortable place with my cats and my books and my Pride and Prejudice. I've been watching a lot of that, the 2005 version obviously, and my shows, and I just want to have a good week where I'm not pushing myself to accomplish some sort of crazy goal. When I was first seeking out advice for PMDD or like symptoms and things, when I thought that I might have PMDD, I found this podcast of this creator who was speaking about PMDD a lot, and they went on this podcast with their partner and they were talking about it, and one of the things that they said was prioritizing exercise and how the benefits of exercising during a cycle. And I definitely think that exercise can help in a lot of ways. It helps with getting all of your energy out from your anxiety. It helps getting you more grounded and settled in your body, whereas with an episode I feel a lot of like fog in my brain where I feel very disconnected. So exercise can do a lot, but sometimes I'm like, I just don't have the energy. I just don't want to do it, and I don't want to do it, so I'm not going to. And I'm gonna see how I feel at the end of the week, at the end of my PMDD cycle, and see if I mentally have processed the episode better as far as like not putting pressure on myself and stuff like that. So those are like my big main goals for the week, and I am pretty content with them, I think. And if I can just get to the end of the week and feel good about myself and feel like I did everything I could, I treated myself the way that I should, then I will be happy. And then when my period hits, I either get a burst of energy and all the symptoms go away, or I just kind of feel meh, and we'll take that again in stride when it comes. So I thought we could talk about Trial of the Sun Queen while I make my coffee. I just need something warm and comforting right now, and I don't have anything that I can make hot. So we're gonna make ourselves a little 5 p.m. coffee. Thankfully, caffeine doesn't do too terribly much to me, but I finished it like maybe 20 minutes ago. I landed on a 3-star for it. It was pretty good. I will admit that yesterday, when I was trying to go to sleep, I was struggling to go to sleep. And so I just laid in bed and read that book, and I read, I think, over 50% of it in one sitting. And it was just so riveting, so interesting. I definitely stand by all of the things that I said in my last clip about it not being interesting as far as the trial is concerned, but just being so fascinated by what's happening. Like, who is she? What's going on? Why are all of these people, all of these kingdoms fighting over her? Some of the reveals, I will say, were very typical romantasy. You could see coming if you have read like 2 romantasies in your time. Like some of the twists and stuff were just like not new, original, funky, or fresh. Other things I'm still very unclear about. I was still questioning, like, what's up with the hero? Why are all of these kingdoms coming after her? Like, I need to know. And why was she kidnapped? Like, I don't know. I'm very interested in where the next book goes. And I kind of want to read it now, but I also kind of want to read some other books that I have from Kindle Unlimited. Some other romantasies, because I'm kind of in that mood. So I think we're gonna pick up Metal Slinger. But I am currently listening to the audiobook of Pumpkin Spice and Poltergeist, which is probably something that I should have saved for like the fall time, but I'm kind of in that mood, you know? I'm kind of in the fall fun and flirty mood. So it's a sapphic romance, and it's set in like a witchy town with paranormal creatures like vampires, werewolves, stuff like that. One of the heroines is a witch, one is a human, and she's staying with her sister in this town. And they have like a little thing, I presume. The witch heroine accidentally summoned her dead ex-girlfriend, and her ex-girlfriend gets stuck to her until she fulfills her purpose, which is like finding her a love and helping her move on. The audiobook is only like 6 hours, so I listen on 2x speed. But I've just been listening to it on like my commute and stuff, but it's pretty dang cute, so I'm enjoying it. But I think now I'm going to read Metal Slinger, maybe, or something else. Whenever I figure out what I'm reading, I'll tell you about it. Okay, I'm recording this voice note and I don't want to be on camera. I don't even know if I'm gonna keep this in. I'm having like a mini freak out, and I'm trying to talk myself down because I am very, very influenced by other people, especially people that creatively I align with or creatively I appreciate as artists, creators, whatever. And I especially now am feeling a lot of, I've been struggling with my content and who I am creatively as I have been healing and changing and realigning my priorities. And I've been talking for months with my therapist about just like what I've been struggling with creatively, because creativity is such a massive part of my life and who I am as a person and my passion. And I know that I'm in an episode and that part of PMDD is impulsivity, and this creator that I love, find a lot of comfort in, is going through some big changes and making some changes to their own life, and the way that they were speaking about it was like resonating with me, and I had this whole freak out. And I figured rather than try to think about it and cycle it through my head, I would talk it out with you guys. And basically what they said was, as they have been on their healing journey, their creative energy, the needs that they were having met through their content has changed, and that's kind of where I've been at, and that's why I have tried to go on this journey of like, what do I want and need, like what do I want to put out in the world, and what do I need to put out in the world, and what do I need to receive from the world. And I'm trying to not completely spiral out. And I know that like that's a very vague thing, but this spiral is a very vague thing in my mind. It's not even like I'm not even picturing words or actions in my head. I just feel completely detached from myself. And I feel like I'm a balloon. I'm like a balloon on a string. And the string is like slowly fraying. And I'm just floating and floating and floating. And I'm going up and up more and more. To the point that I'm not even touching the ground anymore. And that's not necessarily something that is going to have a big impact on literally anything. But I guess the reason I want to capture this, and like there's no reason I need to justify this, but I don't know. I have been not necessarily struggling, necessarily. How many times am I going to say that word? But I've been reevaluating the work that I'm putting my energy into and what I'm putting out in the world and what it means to me and where my passion lies. And like I said, this is not going to probably even be a meaningful difference to you as the viewer. But just like behind the scenes stuff. And that just like, I don't know, it like triggered something in my brain that just like freaked me the fuck out. And I don't know if it's one of those like when you hear something that just like shifts your worldview, and that sounds so silly and dramatic, or if it's just like my episode. So I think I need to sit on it and come back to it and like go with the status quo and not make any massive decisions internally for myself until I'm past this. Because I've just felt myself getting more and more anxious and more out of touch with myself and ungrounded, I guess, as the day has gone on, which was something that I wanted to avoid this episode as much as I could. It's starting early, I guess, but yeah, I don't know. I am feeling much better this morning, helped in part to the lovely, lovely rain and cold weather. And I'm sure you can hear the rain, but I love it. It just like puts me in my element. It reminds me that it's a good time to be alive, and I just love the rain so much. So I am hoping for a better day than I had yesterday. I'm again not going to be pushing myself to be doing anything crazy aside from like watching some TV and reading some books, which is like, this is the perfect weather for it. But yeah, I have been working on my Finch app, which I talked about in my last vlog. I have been using it for a week now, and it's become such a help because I figured out a way to track pretty much anything that you want to track. So obviously on your home screen you have like all of your habits and stuff, but if you go into your self-care area, you can pretty much track anything. It shows up as habits, but if you don't care that they're called habits and like you don't care if the streak and stuff, if you don't care about the streak and it showing up on a calendar as you missing something, like you can pretty much track anything. So I actually created different journeys for my habits. So I have PMDD/period, movement, mood, nutrition, and gratitude. So for the PMDD/period, I have all of the symptoms that I want to track and the period stuff that I deal with. So like light bleeding, medium, and heavy bleeding, and then some other PMDD symptoms that are really common for me. And then same with like movement, I have the 2 different workouts that I do, and then we have like mood. So I have anxious, depressed, happy, and calm, which are like my baseline moods that I tend to track. Then we have nutrition and gratitude. What I really like about this app is you can connect like a freeform journal entry to your habits. So I have a part of my goals every day. I have 25 goals, which it shows up as having 25, but it's not really 25. It's maybe like 7 to 10 actual goals, and the rest is just like for tracking purposes. But you can do like a brain dump option, and when you click it, you can do a little journal entry for your day, which I think is really great. And so I also have added that, and then it keeps track of it, and you can, you know, go back and look at your previous journal entries. So I'm very impressed with this app. And also, like, you can do cute little things with your Finch. So you can like decorate your little Finch's room. So right now I have a star theme. Ignore the wallpaper. That's just like what is being previewed from the shop. But you can like decorate your little Finch's room. I'm going with like a planet star theme. And you can use your points that you get from completing habits to decorate your little room. And then you can give them cute little outfits and stuff that are new outfits every day that refresh. So I think it's just like one of the best apps that I have discovered for habit tracking, period tracking, all that kind of stuff. It's obviously not like a specific period tracker, but I trust the company to not sell my data, and I also have found a workaround, which I think is good. So I'm pretty impressed with it so far. You can see my little Finch on his little adventure, his little koala bear outfit with his teddy bear. So I'm very impressed with this. I'm happy that I found it, and I'm gonna continue to use it, and I'll keep you guys updated as far as how useful it is. But that being said, I need to get into work, so we will talk later. So I got about 20-ish% of the way through Metal Slinger, and I'm gonna DNF it for the second time. I saw this comment on a video the other day, on a Romantasy video, that said, I want Romantasy to make me feel how the Shadowhunter Chronicles made me feel when I was 16. And I fully 100% agree with that. That's where I'm at. I'm not really enjoying Romantasy at the moment, and I don't know if it's just because I have been reading it like only pretty much exclusively Romantasy for like a year or so now, and so I'm just tired of it and need a change up. But I'm just kind of over it, and I want to get back into contemporary romance. If you are new to my channel, I read pretty much exclusively contemporary romance for the first 3 years that I have my channel, and it's only been within the last year or so, and a year and a half, that I switched over to no contemporary romance. So I'm feeling like I want to get back into contemporary romance. I need to switch up, and I'm just craving good, solid romance. But I'm so out of the loop when it comes to books in general, because I don't watch BookTube or watch really many book creators. But especially with contemporary romance, it's been a long time, and I don't watch anybody that reads contemporary romance. So I don't know like what is hot and poppin'. I don't know what people are loving right now. So I just decided to pick up a tried and true that I have kind of enjoyed in the past, not loved, but kind of enjoyed. So I picked up the second book in one of Anna Huang's romance series. I have mixed experience with her, but I thought I would give this a shot and see how it goes. So if you have any contemporary romances that you've read and absolutely loved recently, definitely let me know down in the description. I also have some books that I'm getting from the library to read over the next couple of days that are contemporary romances, but I need some recs because I feel like I just don't know. I go on Kindle Unlimited and I just don't know what to pick. I don't know what's good. I don't know what people are enjoying. I'm just so out of the loop, and I need some help. So let me know, please and thank you. So this is my newest little set, both from CRZ Yoga. If you're looking for affordable, comfortable, soft workout stuff, I would definitely recommend. But I'm not doing a workout today, but I wanted to try this on and see how I feel, and I absolutely adore it. I think it's so cute. It's this little skirt with shorts, and I believe the shorts have pockets, and the shorts have like this elastic to keep it you know, stuck to your leg. But I have been purchasing the same size. I have lost a little tiny bit of weight, so my clothes are fitting a little bit looser than they used to, but I don't feel comfortable going down a size yet. So I'm really adoring this. I've never really been a skirt dress sort of person, but I feel like I'm getting into them, especially like a cute soft little pink. So I'm a big fan, and this is what I'm going to be wearing for the day, just to see how it feels. Like, I like to wear my workout clothes at work before I go work out after work. So like, is this something that I would feel comfortable wearing? And I think it would be. So it is Friday morning and I am off of work today. So I plan to do a ton of reading and relaxing. Before we get into the books, I wanted to give kind of a brief update on the voice note and all of that. I didn't want to talk about it until I had gone to therapy and kind of worked through all of the things that had happened, and I know that the voice note is a little bit all over the place and a little bit much, but it's something that I wanted to document. PMDD is kind of a hard, it is a hard thing to deal with, and it's often categorized by, or people who have it have often equated it to having a werewolf inside of you. And when you are in the middle of an episode, you feel completely out of control and you don't know how to like work yourself down. You don't feel like you can like decide for yourself how you're going to act in high stress situations, and it often results in arguments with partners and things like that. Obviously this was a very just like weird occurrence, like a one of, I just happened to see something online and it kind of resonated with me and hit a couple of spots that were, I don't know, they caused an emotional reaction within me, and I think a lot of it had to do with how vulnerable I have been feeling recently with a lot of unknowns about myself. I feel like with my job and my relationships and my animals and all of that, I feel very settled, and my life in general I think is very settled. But when it comes to my own identity and who I am, as I have worked through a ton of stuff in therapy, I'm left in this place of not knowing who I am outside of the things that I've struggled with my entire life. I suspect that I have always had depression my whole life, and I also have CPTSD and some other things. So I have never really known what my life is like when I'm in control, when I can voice my needs, when I understand myself, when I'm able to touch in on my feelings and my emotions and where my body is at and all of the signals that my brain and body have been trying to give me my whole life that I either didn't know how to read or I ignored because of learned behavior. And so I don't know who I am. I don't know who I am. And being 28, I think through your 20s, even into your 30s, like I think it's a universal experience of like, I don't know who I am. I think you never really have it figured out, and I don't think you're going to talk to anybody at any age that's like, yeah, I know who I am 100%. I know what I want my life to be. I think the who I am question, why am I here question is like a universal experience. And I'm not saying that like therapy or any amount of journaling or yoga or working out or anything is gonna solve those problems for me, but I think I wanted to capture that because I wanted to show how far I have come and how far therapy and how much therapy has helped me. Because previously, like a year or 2 years ago, it would have been inconceivable for me to be able to recognize that I was having a meltdown and be able to do some breathing exercises and come back into myself and even have the words to articulate what was happening. Show that to anybody who has similar issues, similar experiences, who maybe feels like they're out of control and they'll never be in control. I'm not saying that I have control all the time, and I'm definitely not in control of my moods, as you have seen or as I've talked about, and I will continue to talk about. I'm not in control of all of those things, but it was the first moment where I knew what was happening. I knew that I needed to calm down. I knew that something big was going on with my brain and something had triggered it, and I needed to like come back into myself and handle it. I knew it all, and I don't know that I've necessarily had that exact experience before where I was able to do it that succinctly. A lot of my uncontrollability and unpredictability shows up in really stressful situations, so arguments with my partner or situations like that. And in the past, I have felt completely out of control and like my body was not my own and I couldn't decide what I did or said, and that's a very scary feeling. And I'm just so proud, and I hope that you one day have this feeling. And I'm not saying that like I'm fully healed and I'm great and I make the best decisions all the time, but this was like the first, well, one of the first glimmers of change within myself, and that was so amazing. It was like almost instant, where I started having these big feelings, my heart was racing, I couldn't breathe, I was almost having a panic attack, and I was like, what is happening? Like, what is going on? And I wanted to be able to get back in control as quickly as possible to evaluate what was going on. And I was able to do some deep breathing, and I was able to like come back into myself. And I wanted to like, I wanna talk about how amazing that is. So the long and short of it is that that was a really big moment for me. What sparked it all was someone being very honest, and the resonance that I got from what they were talking about. They essentially were talking about how, as they've healed, a lot of the intimacy that they've shown in videos and things like that are not really necessary. They recognize that they've been treating their videos and their content as like a diary of sorts, and an attempt to feel some sort of connection to people. And as they've healed, they find that they need that a little bit less, and it's left them in a place where they don't really know what they're doing it for and what it looks like. And I'm kind of at that space, and that's why I had that freak out, I think, is because these thoughts that I've been having for weeks and these things that I've been trying to shove down and kind of just go with the status quo were like said to me, you know, they were said to me from someone else, and it just like hit me right in my meow, my heart. And I had to like I just had like this shift, you know, I just had this moment that was just like the shift for me. And yeah, I'm not saying that I, in regards to that, have all of that figured out, because I certainly don't. And I've said numerous times, like, I don't even know if it'll look that different for you. But there's just a lot of work that I'm doing internally, and I conflate my creativity with who I am so much that it's hard for me to not feel like creatively I don't know who I am, and also my being, who I am as a person, I don't know who I am. When one struggles, the other kind of struggles. Usually it's this side that creates this side's issues, but you know, it's kind of who I am as a person. And I have so much passion for this that it's hard for me to be in a place where I know what I love doing, and I know what I want to do, and I know the kind of impact that I want to have. I just don't know what that looks like. So that's what was going on there. I still have not figured anything out. I still don't know what I want to do. I know that I want to create vlogs, and I want to share those intimate, quiet moments with you guys. I just don't know in what capacity. I have kind of pigeonholed myself in my identity and my creative identity as like the sad girl, the girl who is struggling and wants to talk about it. And I don't want that to be who I am for the rest of my life. Like, I'm gonna have moments, but I don't want that to be all of who I am. So I'm still trying to figure it out, and it's gonna be one step at a time. And yeah, that's where I'm at. That being said, I have been struggling with this episode a lot. I made the goal for myself that I was gonna spend the least amount of time in bed, and I think that lasted like 2 days. I'm not beating myself up about it. It's perfectly okay, and it's what I needed. And I'm proud of myself for not pressuring myself to do all of the things. That being said, I have been very stagnant this week, and kind of inside of myself, like, what do I need? What do I need to do? How am I feeling? Not a lot going on the outside, you know? So I have been trying to read contemporary romance, like I said. I finished up some books that I mentioned in an earlier clip. So I finished The Pumpkin Spice and Poltergeist. It's a great like seasonal read. I'm pretty interested in the rest of the stories in this series, the rest of the love stories in this series. It's like a paranormal town, sort of small town situation, and I definitely would be interested in picking up more books in this series later on in the fall season. The audiobook was great. It wasn't like, as you'll see, I try to be a cozy and calm person on the inside, but when it comes to books, I want all the tension, the angst, the stakes, and I wouldn't necessarily say that this has crazy tension and stakes. There's obviously the tension of like trying to find out how her ex-girlfriend died, and the new budding relationship, and like the paranormal creatures and all that, but there wasn't a ton of like angst, you know, that I really wanted. So it was like a decent 3 stars for me. But then I went on a journey to try to find a contemporary romance that I really liked. I went through my Kindle Unlimited. I did get Kindle Unlimited back. I don't know if I said that, but I went through my Kindle Unlimited. I got rid of all my romantasy books, and I got just a ton of contemporary romances. And I've been trying to make my way through them, but I have not had the best luck. So I told you that I started out with the Anna Huang book. I think it's the 2nd book in the series. It's called like King of Pride or something like that. I made it about 20% of the way through, and I was kind of into it, okay? It's a billionaire romance, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but it follows Isabella, who is friends with the heroine from the first one. And she's an author trying to publish her debut novel, and she's currently bartending at Valhalla, which is a club that the hero Kai owns, or is like CEO or something, is part of. And Kai is our richest Nepo baby who certainly worked to get to his position, okay? It wasn't handed to him. He is the CEO of his family's company, billionaire, whatever. He is unexpectedly inheriting the company early, and he gets some news that is a little concerning to him in the beginning of the novel. So he visits the club where Isabella is working on a night that he doesn't tend to do it. He's a very like meticulous, quiet guy. He loves to read. He translates classics from English to Latin in his spare time. Very quiet, reserved guy, but very buttoned up. And he follows a routine. He comes to the club at the same time every night, but he comes on a different night. They spark up a conversation, they have some banter back and forth, and then later on after her shift, Isabella goes up to another floor of the club and is playing the piano, and that's where Kai finds her, and they have kind of a little bit of a competition, and this sparks a competition between them, and a really intense attraction, I would say, a feeling of not being able to like escape each other, just know when the other person's in the room. They feel like the electricity between each other. Despite the tension, I wouldn't say that this is the most interesting romance. I am not the biggest fan of Anna Huang. I've had some books that I liked and some books that I didn't. With her Twisted Love series, my biggest complaint was it felt like in her drafting process, she threw like every possible situation that her characters could get into like against a wall and saw what stuck, and like everything stuck, and so she put everything in her books and they were just kind of all over the place. Whereas with this series, it's almost the opposite. It's like pretty boring. The 20% mark of the novel, they had just like run into each other a couple of times, and it felt like one of those stories that you just knew they were going to get up to, like, obviously it's a romance, they're going to end up together, but there wasn't really anything keeping them apart. Like, sure, she was an employee of a club that he owned, but beyond that there really isn't anything keeping them apart, and they vibed really well. There was no like conflict, you know, and it's one of those stories where you know you're gonna read like 4 or 5 scenes of them denying their attraction, and then they're gonna ultimately give into it, and then they're gonna have a couple of banging scenes in secret, and then they're gonna come out to their friends, and it's happily ever after. And that to me is boring. That's boring. And it's a lot of the reason that I haven't been reading contemporary romance recently, because I felt like every contemporary romance that I was picking up had the same situation, and so I was leaning into the romantasy because obviously the fantasy part brings some angst, tension, and plot to the novel, and I just wasn't interested in it. So I decided to put it down at the 20% mark, and I picked up Pretend Match. I took notes, and now I just don't feel like pulling the notes up. I started, God, she has so many books. Make Believe Match. It's the 3rd book in this series by Melanie Harlow, The Cherry Tree Harbor. I have read something in her Cloverfield series. I think it was the Single Dad one, and I gave that book 2 stars. It was like one of the worst books that I had read at the time. This was back in like 2020, I think. I hated the relationship in it. And this one was starting off marginally better. I know people love Melanie Harlow, but I just don't feel like I connect with her writing. I wouldn't say this is necessarily the case here. This just kind of had a setup that I'm not the biggest fan of. So basically this follows Lexi, who is trying to save her family's resort, like snow resorts called like Snowberry or something like that, from a big corporation who's trying to buy it out. It's been in her family for generations, but it's not doing super well financially, and her grandmother is about to pass, and her grandmother is in talks with this big corporation to buy it out, and they're gonna renovate it and all that kind of stuff. And of course Lexi doesn't want that. She wants to keep the resort, she wants to modernize it, and she just like feels like this is her legacy. And so her grandmother says, in my will, in order for you to inherit it, you have to be married. Typical marriage of convenience setup. That's not the problem. She goes to the bar, the local bar, and she meets Devlin, who is the hero. It's not a spoiler to say that he is from a big corporation. They obviously don't know that, but he starts chatting her up at the bar after a really bad date, and he basically tells her, like, I can give you an orgasm within 15 minutes, because she says, like, I haven't had an orgasm in forever. Like, no man, no toy, nothing can bring me an orgasm. I haven't orgasmed in 6 months. And he's like, give me 15 minutes and I can make you see God, which, ugh. And so they go out to his SUV, and he gives her some orgasms and they have sex. Now, all of that is fine, except that I do not like early hookups in books. One of the things that I find the most tension filled in a romance is the sexual aspect, the like needing to touch them, needing to be around them, needing to kiss them, needing to like interact with them on that physical level. And nothing breaks tension like an early hookup, because inevitably you're gonna again get a couple of chapters where they're fighting their attraction, they're gonna give in to it, and we've already seen what they're like together sexually, and I just think beyond that there's no tension. So knowing that about myself, I just went ahead and DNF'd it, and tried to pick up some other books, some other things that just were not working with me. And I get that, like, the way that I was picking contemporary romances was I literally just went on Kindle Unlimited and picked up whatever sounded good or whatever had like a good cover and a good name, and I wasn't looking at reviews, I wasn't looking at ratings or anything like that. And so I'm gonna have some misses, but I was just like striking out back to back. And then I started reading The Fake Out. I've never read anything by this author before. It's the second book in a sports romance, and it's a fake dating hockey romance. I'm only 12 pages in. It seems to be about Hazel and Rory. Rory is a professional hockey player, and he is kind of not really into hockey anymore, but he moved to Vancouver and has been offered the captain position. But really the only joy and happiness he gets out of life is teasing Hazel, who is his best friend's wife's best friend. And they kind of have always had an antagonistic relationship going back to like middle school, high school, and they've known each other for a really long time. She thinks he's just like a cocky playboy. He really is into her and trying to figure out what he needs to do to like get her attention. Well, I'm only 12 pages in, so I'm assuming they fake date or something along those lines. I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic about it. I have heard good things about this author from people that I trust, so I'm hoping that I will ultimately end up enjoying. Make this outrageously long clip even longer. I got a couple of things from the library that I'm really hoping will improve my reading experience. So it's very funny that a couple of clips ago I mentioned that my greatest desire from a romantasy is that it makes me feel like I did when I was 12 years old reading Cassandra Clare, because serendipitously I got a message yesterday from my library saying that Swordcatcher from Cassandra Clare was available for me. I have reserved this months and months and months ago, and I was not expecting it to come, and I'm so happy that it did, even though I'm kind of like on the outs with fantasy. But I have tried to read this previously and I couldn't really get into this. This is like her adult fantasy debut, but I'm just craving her writing style. I've heard that this feels like an adult version of her old books, and I'm very optimistic about this reread, or this second attempt. So we are going to try this. I'm cautiously optimistic about this. I might just have to break down and do a complete reread of the Shadowhunter Chronicles like I've been thinking about doing for months, but we do have this. Hopefully that'll scratch the itch. But that's not the exciting part, because two other holds from my library came through at just like the right time. The reading gods are just so excited for me. But that is Deep End by Ali Hazelwood and Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I have been talking so long that my camera literally cut me off. I know that people are so stoked about these, or were stoked about these when they came out. I'm so behind, but like I said, I haven't been reading contemporary for several years. But I'm pretty excited to get into these. I know that this one is everybody's favorite. It's like on everybody's favorite romance of last year. It's emotional. I'm excited to cry cry, cry, cry. I have not had a great experience with Abby Jimenez, but I haven't read her most recent works. I've just read like her first series. And then Deep End, I, again, don't have the best relationship with Ali Hazelwood. Some books I really love, some books I don't love. But I have heard that this is pretty different than her like STEMinist novels. So pretty excited about these two, and I will definitely be reading these this weekend. And then last but not least, and then I will let you go, I have some books that I got recently on recommendations. On a dear friend's recommendation, I decided to pick up Yours Until Dawn. They said that this was like an instant 5-star for them. And usually I don't like to purchase novels that I have not read, which this other book is breaking that as well, but I tend not to like to have that as a habit. But I could not get this from my library, either location, Libby or my actual library, so I picked this up. Mass market paperbacks tend to be cheaper, so I picked this up. I'm very, very excited. I'm hoping that it'll also be a 5-star. And then I got My Dark Romeo by Parker S. Huntington and LJ Shin. First of all, the cover by, you know, the cover by, holy cow. I did start to read this on my Kindle, and then I was able to find a physical book. This has been on my wish list to purchase purely because of this cover for years. When did this come out? I am obsessed with this. It came out in 2022. I think I've been wanting this for about that long, maybe like 2023, whenever the recover came out. But I'm obsessed with this. I think the energy exuded from this is just like a work of art. I'm hoping that I will love this as well. I don't have the best luck with LJ Shin. I read Vicious. It's one of the first ever contemporary romance, adult contemporary romances I read on my reading journey, and I was fucking obsessed with it. But every LJ Shin I read since then, I have not liked. So I also have not read anything by Parker S. Huntington, but I do have her like really, really popular one that's like 800 pages on my TBR. So I'm really hoping that I like this one. If not, it's still going to be displayed because it's gorgeous, but I'm going to be giving these a shot as well. So I think that's it for this update. Again, ridiculously long. I kind of am feeling getting into Deep End first. I do know that this is about 2 swimmers, or a swimmer and a diver. There's like kink and stuff in this. So I'm gonna jump into this and have a good weekend? Question mark? Okay, also I forgot to mention that I'm considering starting a book club on Fable. Let me know down in the comments if you'd be interested. The screams that have been scrumped. Okay, we have a couple of updates. I am on my 3rd cup of coffee for the day. I don't know why my body has decided that I need that, but we're here. I have been cleaning all this morning. You saw a couple of things, just some like weekend stuff that I wanted to get out of the way so I can read. And also I have been doing all of the things in this skirt, and the elastic has done a pretty good job of keeping the shorts from riding up. So I'm pleasantly surprised with this outfit, and I probably will get more squirts. It has shorts underneath it. I am 60 pages into Deep End. This might be the first 5-star I've ever given an Ali Hazelwood. I don't think I've given Ali Hazelwood, I think I've given one 4-star, but most of them have been barely scraping a 3-star. Yes, I gave Love Theoretically and Bride 4 stars. Bride is not that shocking to me, but the rest have been 3 stars or 2 stars. This, I would say, is more writing wise along the lines of Not in Love, which I know was not everybody's favorite. A lot of people were not the biggest fan of Not in Love. Tonally, it's very different than what I think we all have come to expect from Allie's writing. But this is definitely more along those lines. We're getting a lot more trauma and backstory and like depth to our characters, and less fun, witty, quirky, galaxy-legging quotes, which I'm appreciating. I really liked the way that Not in Love was written. I ended up giving it 2 stars. The thing that I did not like was how sex heavy it is. I understood it for the characters, and I don't think that it was like unnecessary, but it just wasn't like for me the kind of emotional and physical and relationship development that I look for in a romance. I understand again that for the character the sex made sense. She really could only be emotionally vulnerable during and after sex. I get that. It just is not for me. I'm not a very sex heavy reader. I don't love it. It's not how I connect emotionally to stories, so it just wasn't my favorite, but I loved the writing. I loved the seriousness. I loved how intimate the characters felt and how connected I felt to the characters, and I'm getting all of that from this. I'm really, really, really liking this so far, and the last line of the book that I just read, I'm screaming and giggling and kicking my feet already. This is kind of a chunker, a little bit longer than I think her other novels have been. It's almost 450 pages. This is essentially about Scarlett and Lucas. Scarlett is a diver and Lucas is a Olympic swim captain person. And at the beginning of the novel, Lucas and Scarlett's teammate are kind of on the outs in their relationship. They've been together for years and years, since they were like 15. They're in college now. And her teammate gets really drunk at a party and tells her that he is just not into the same things sexually that she's into. He likes more like dom sub, tying up, blindfolds, that kind of stuff. And she does not. And so she feels like their relationship doesn't work because they're just in different places sexually. Now, Lucas obviously isn't forcing her to do anything, and in fact he's gone the opposite way, where he was willing to have vanilla sex with her because he made a commitment to her and they were in a relationship and all that kind of stuff. But she does end up breaking up with him. I don't remember what the girl's name is, but she ends up breaking up with Lucas, and she basically tells Scarlett, like, we're meant to be together, we'll come back together in the future, but right now, like, I want to be a free spirit, I want to have sex with other people, I want to, like, be free, but in the future, like, we're meant to be together or whatever. And then she gets really drunk again at a party that they're both at, and they're both trying to, like, help her get up off the floor and, like, get her to go home. And she's really drunk, and she turns to the two of them and is like, both of you are into the same things, like kinky stuff sexually, like, you guys should fuck. Obviously, they've had very minimal interactions up to this point, so it's kind of an awkward conversation, but it does create kind of a bond between the two of them, and Scarlett finds herself more interested in Lucas. Like, she's always known about him, but now she thinks that now he's like creeping into her thoughts. She's noticing him around campus and stuff more. Now, this being Allie Hazelwood, I'm sure we will find out that he's always had a little bit of a thing for her, because he makes a comment about how they met each other back when she was touring the college, so I'm sure that will come back up, and we'll find out that he's secretly been obsessed with her since then. But he basically is like, if you want to explore things sexually, I think I'm your guy. So I'm pretty into this. I'm pretty excited for this. I don't necessarily know. I'm hoping that this doesn't turn into Not in Love, where they just bang all the time. I'm hoping we get a little bit more than that, but I'm cautiously optimistic, and I'm really liking this. I'm really liking this. And if this is where her writing goes as an author, we're there, you know. I said before, I'll say it again, I always say it, I love stakes, tension, trauma, exploration, and growth of my characters. I'm a very character-driven person, I think, as you have to be when you read romance, and when I don't have those things, it's like not a good story for me. So that being said, I'm gonna finish my coffee, I'm gonna read more of this, and I'm so excited. I haven't been this excited about a book in a while. Like, I was maybe like 15 pages in. At first it was a little like tough to get into because the writing style is very different than what I had come to expect for Allie Hazelwood, but I was like maybe 20 pages in and I was like giggling and getting excited, and so I'm like, oh shit, I'm like in it. So I'm gonna continue to read it, and I would like to get a decent portion through it today, but I'm just so excited. So we'll probably talk again later about it. Okay, listen, I have had to spend years at this point sitting by and letting all the girlies appreciate Allie Hazelwood books and wishing that was me, and I finally found a book that is so fucking for me. It's insane. I'm in love with this. I'm halfway through. Wow, it's truly stunning. If you're new to my channel, one of my all-time favorite romances is Rush by Brianna Hale, which is a very similar story to this, and I will say, if you loved this, perhaps check out Rush. It does have daddy kink in it, so if daddy kink's not your thing, I would say avoid it, but if you can tolerate daddy kink or you like daddy kink, check out Rush, because I said in a previous clip that I didn't like Not in Love because it's all about the sex. This is about a sexual relationship, but it's very heavily about exploration, and that is one of my favorite things. I think it's so intimate, so beautiful. I love it. I personally love watching two people explore their desires together. I think it creates such a strong bond, especially when they care very deeply for each other and trust each other. There's a certain level of trust that comes with a dynamic like this and exploring dynamics like this that I just don't see in typical romances expressed in this way, and oh god, I love it so much. It's good. I will say, if you are not a kink fan, this is not quite as kinky as maybe it's made out to be. It's just kind of like, at least from what I've seen so far, very surface level, like being bossed around kind of stuff. So if you do end up picking up Rush, it's quite a bit more in there. But god, this is so good. I mean, like, yeah, they haven't had penetrative sex, if you will, but there have been some intimate scenes and they were delightful. So I'm eating this up. I am in love with it. I'm so happy that I decided to pick this up, and I cannot wait to finish it, but also I don't want to finish it. And this might be one of my favorite contemporary romances of the year. So I haven't had a 5-star contemporary romance that I know of this year that I can remember, so this is probably going to be a 5-star depending on how the end of the story goes. Like, oh man, we're here, you know. I'm excited. I'm gonna get back into it. Okay, so I finished Deep End, and if I had talked to you last night after I initially finished it and rated it, this would have been unequivocally a 5-star. I loved it so much. When I finished it, there was a particular scene that actually made me cry, and I like really was into it. And the more I thought about it, the more the problems started to arise. I think I'm gonna leave my 5-star rating on Goodreads, but between you and I, this is definitely like a 4-star book. The biggest problem that I found with this book is the pacing. There is like a good 50 to 80 pages where I was left wondering why they were included in the story. Like I didn't feel like they moved the characters' story along, and they didn't progress the romance, and I just didn't feel like there was a lot, like, the characters had to get to a certain end goal, and there was things in between that Okay, my camera died and I was on a roll of talking, so we're just gonna film on my phone. But I recognize that, like, if I was a diver or a swimmer or something, I would be, like, expecting this turn of events. I would be expecting this, like, boom, boom, boom. Okay, you go here, you win this. You go here, you win this. You go here, you win this. However, I'm not a swimmer or a diver. I don't know anything about the Olympics or qualifying for the Olympics, so I don't really care. And to have the heroine going to so many events that I didn't feel like were relevant or provided character growth was very frustrating, because when we actually had the romance coming up, a lot of it was sex. And I spoke earlier about how a lot of the beginning of the novel that I loved so much was the sexual exploration. But at some point it wasn't about exploring each other anymore. It was literally just about the sex. And we would get scenes of being like, oh yeah, we went on a trip together and we talked about this. And we didn't actually see that, but we saw plenty of scenes of them having sex. And yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. I think with Rush in particular, to compare it to that, because I did say that was a comp, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a comp. Rush is literally all about exploration and exploring each other and growth, individually and as a couple and sexually, and this is not really that. They're basically just establish a little bit of kink dynamics, and then they start just having sex. And I saw a lot of Goodreads reviews that compared this to 50 Shades. They make a joke about 50 Shades several times in the book, and I think it's the unavoidable joke that has to be made if you're making a kink book, especially as a first time. I have read a lot of kink. I don't think that this is like anywhere close to 50 Shades. Like, obviously there's so much discourse around 50 Shades and it not being an accurate portrayal of a kinky relationship, or this kind of dynamic, but I don't think that any of the Goodreads reviews that says this is like 50 Shades, like, it's not. It's really not. In any regard, like 50 Shades. If you think that any kink is just 50 Shades, like, I'm sorry, you're not correct. I will say that I'm happy with this direction that Ali Hazelwood is going in. I just think there are certain things that maybe were not an issue in some of her other more popular books, that she kind of needs to polish up on, or like, I would like if she polished up on. I'm not going to say she should or she needs to, because, like, she's a prolific author. Like, everybody loves her. I don't need to tell her how to write her books, but I think for me to give her a book that is a true 5-star with, like, no problems, like an all-time favorite romance, there are just things that I would like to see improved upon. So that's where I'm at with this. Like I said, I'm going to keep it a 5-star on Goodreads unless, like, I think about it and it just really bothers me. But I'm optimistic about where her writing is going and where her stories are going. So that's pretty cool. I'm definitely glad that I read it. After reading Not in Love, I was a little bit, like, unsure if I was ever going to read an Ali Hazelwood. You know, buzz around this one started to come out, and I was hoping that it would be like Rush. But it does kind of make me want to go back and revisit her old books, even though I know who I am as a reader, I'm not going to enjoy them. I didn't enjoy them the first time. There's something about, like, the hype around her novels and the way that they're written that makes you want to love them and makes you want to, like, be in her worlds, even if you don't love them, which is so, ugh. I don't know if I'm ready for the Abby Jimenez book quite yet. I'm probably gonna just continue the ebook that I've been reading. I got a little bit further into it last night before bed, but I didn't read too terribly much. That's it for this update. And I'm gonna go get my battery for my camera so we can actually have like a proper talk. But he is so cute. He does this all the time. We have these like hoodie blanket thingies that you can put on like a hoodie, and he always tucks himself into it. He's so cute. Oh my goodness. So before I end the vlog, I wanted to do a little bit of a check-in with how my week went, which I think is going to, depending on my mood, be a regular thing in these vlogs that are more focused on healing and recovery, because I think it's important to talk about the overall scope of the week. As someone who struggles to remember things, I literally carry around a little notebook with me to make notes on things that I want to remember. I'm very micro, and I tend to focus on that day or the last couple of days. And so I think it's important to reflect on the last little week. I think it was a good week. I'm proud of the accomplishments that I got done. The fact that I am a couple of days out of the end of an episode, which are arguably the worst days, and I was able to film, I was able to read a book, I was able to get out of bed and clean my house and do chores and like talk to you guys and have coherent thoughts, I think is a huge accomplishment. It's nothing crazy, but during an episode when I usually feel like I can't even function, when I can't even think or have the energy to like make a meal, the fact that I was getting up out of bed and reading and filming a full video and doing all of these things, I think is a huge cause for celebration, and I'm very proud of myself for doing it. This episode and this week was exactly what I needed. It's exactly what all of my signals were saying, and I think the fact that I spent the week, the latter part of the week, doing these slow, productive things really is a testament to how I treated myself in the beginning, and I'm just very proud. And being self-congratulatory is hard for anybody. It's definitely hard for me, but I remind myself that the little victories are just as important to celebrate as the big victories, and that's what we're gonna do here. So very proud of me, very proud of you for making it through the week. I really appreciate you being here along for the journey, and I really hope you will stick around. So don't forget to subscribe if you are looking for more content like this. Check out my backlist if you want to see my whole journey and or get my opinion on media or any of the other things that you could possibly want to hear me talk about. Check out my backlist. All of my social medias are linked down below. Check out my Tumblr if you are interested in more musings and thoughts like this, and media ideas and media thoughts. My Goodreads, all of that are linked down below. Let me know if you'd be interested in a book club over on the Fable app. I'm still kicking around the idea. I don't have too many solid thoughts about it, so I would love to get y'all's input. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in my next one.